You know how in old movies women faint dramatically when they see a handsome man? Like some dashing gentleman walks into the room with a perfect jawline and emotionally unavailable energy, and a woman just delicately lifts one hand to her forehead and floats gracefully into the velvet chase lounge. Yeah, that's not me. Listen, there's been something I've been meaning to tell you, and it involves my boobs. After breast cancer surgery, trying to find a bra that felt good all day can feel like a second job that I didn't apply for. But I finally found one that is soft and supportive and flattering and does not make me want to rip it off by lunchtime. It's from Handful. Handful makes an all-day flattering sports bra, and it's designed to lift without wires, and it's flattering without flattening, which I love, and it fits like a dream. It has serious support and buttery soft comfort with adjustable straps, removable pads, and none of the digging and pinching like I normally could have in a sports bra. And honestly, I wore it all day because it was so comfortable. I have an exclusive discount for you too. So go to handful.com and use the code 1969 for 30% off any product. That's handful.com, code 1969. I do earn commission when you use my code, so when you shop, you're also supporting me and the show. Your boobs deserve better, and frankly, so do you. Before we jump in, a quick note. This episode includes stories about fainting, also blood, needles, and medical appointments, and one very brief grown woman joke about dehydration. I like to keep it honest here and keep it human, and because it's me, yes, we also keep it ridiculous. I do not faint romantically or poetically. I do not faint in a way that makes anyone think, wow, what a delicate flower. No, I faint like a folding lawn chair at a family reunion. Fast, awkward, and definitely unexpected. And usually in front of people who will absolutely bring the event up later. My body has never once said, let's handle this with dignity. My body says, oh no, is that blood? Are we doing needles? Is someone discussing a medical procedure within a 12-foot radius of me? Hard pass. My system's shutting down. Everybody evacuate the building. Because I faint like it's my side hustle. And honestly, if there were a punch card, I would have earned a free smoothie by now. Which is why it still shocks me that when the thing I was most afraid of finally came at me, somehow I stayed on my feet. So let's review the fainting resume. 3rd grade, booster shot day at school. Already sounds like a terrible concept. Who looked at a room full of 8-year-olds and thought, you know what would really help the learning environment? Let's add some needles. I remember standing in line and the smell of the alcohol and the school nurse, antiseptic paper and fear and whatever industrial soap schools used at the time could probably remove paint. And I smelled it all. Everyone was trying to act brave standing in line, which is ridiculous because we were all children and half of us still needed help opening our milk cartons. I watched the kids ahead of me get their shots, and my body started negotiating with God. Then it was my turn. I sat down, they swabbed my arm, the needle came out, and I was okay at the time. Then I walked all the way back down to the hall to my homeroom class, stood there in front of the teacher to get my lollipop, and started wobbling and went down. Not in a scenic swoon, just 3rd grade Diane down for the count. Some kids left school that day with a Band-Aid. I left school with a reputation. Then came the starter earring incident, about 3 years later. My mother was removing my starter earrings, which should have been a normal mother-daughter moment, right? Tender, sweet, a little milestone. Instead, it became a medical drama produced by Claire's Boutique. She's behind me working on the earring. Of course, they're really hard to get the backs off, and I'm trying to be brave, but feeling a little queasy because apparently ear jewelry was my battlefield. I can still feel that weird pressure of someone messing with the back of my earring. Not pain exactly, but enough sensation for your imagination to go, this is how it ends? And then the earring came loose. My body heard the tiny click and interpreted as a battlefield amputation. Timber. I went down again. Over an earring. Not surgery, not a traumatic incident, an earring. Some girls get their ears pierced and feel glamorous. I got mine pierced and later required a recovery period. Then there was my boyfriend's knife wound. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Who has a knife wound? Exactly. It was from hunting. Okay, another exactly. Already this story has too many questions. I don't even remember all the details. I just remember there was blood and someone I cared about had an injury, and my body apparently decided that this was not for me. There are people who run toward emergencies. There are people who grab towels, apply pressure, call 911, and become very impressive under stress. I'm not that person. Sometimes I'm the person that looks at the blood, processes the situation for apparently 3 seconds, and then I become a secondary emergency. He had a knife wound. I went down. Did he know that I would probably pass out? Not really, but he kind of knew my history. Then there was the Christmas Eve bagel cutting incident. Because the holidays aren't festive enough without blood and a fainting wife. And there we were, Christmas Eve, the house full of Christmas things, kids, excitement, probably wrapping paper somewhere that didn't belong anywhere. We were getting ready to go to a family dinner. And it was that strange holiday energy where everybody feels magical and also like someone is one minor inconvenience away from snapping. And then came the bagel, my breakfast that I wanted to cut. As an adult, you'd think I'd know how to cut a bagel by now. There was a knife, a big knife. There was a slice, and then there was blood. And there was I, standing in front of the kids, not knowing what to do next. Ran upstairs where Sean was to let him know that I was going to faint, that I had just cut my hand, and I was going to faint. Peyton was in the shower. Everybody gathered in the same bathroom like it was nothing because I was going to go down. And then that happened. I just fainted. It was the first time the incident happened for Sean, so he really didn't know what to do. And afterwards, hearing the story that he told, I know that he was very frightened. But it's the day that Diane fainted while everybody was in the same bathroom, and poor Peyton taking the shower. Everybody in the family became documentary narrators. She went down. I mean, she was out. I thought, this is it. Christmas Eve? Bagel took her out. Peyton saying, I was in the shower when this whole thing happened. I really didn't know what was going on, but I knew that we had to get ready. And I just kept washing my hair. Then, because apparently my fainting catalog needed a spicier chapter, there was a dehydration event. Yes, that kind. Not in detail. Relax. This is still a classy operation. Well, mostly. But apparently at some point, hydration was not prioritized. When you're having too much fun in bed, who thinks about drinking water? But apparently at some point, hydration was not prioritized at all, and it led me down the wrong path. And there I was, lying on the bathroom floor rug, dizzy as hell, and not really sure what to do. I yelled out for Sean to get me some water. I was still on the floor, knew that if I stayed there, the dizziness would stay, but I couldn't really go any lower. I was already hugging that rug. Sean came in and gave me the water, asking what's happening. I told him that possibly I was dehydrated, a little overheated from what had just happened. He took it very personal, with a lot of pride. like he had personally completed an Olympic event and I was the casualty. To hear him tell it, I was moments away from being a Dateline episode. And I'm on that bathroom floor, probably wondering how my life choices led me here, and he's mentally preparing the headline: Local woman taken out by romance and poor water intake. Again, not one of my finest moments, but so very on brand for me. Then there was the dermatologist injection. This one annoys me because you go to a dermatologist thinking, this will be quick. It never is. They were like, we're just going to numb this area a little. And the sentence already sounded suspicious. Anytime someone says just before a medical procedure, I feel like we need a legal representation. We were going to just do a small injection. We were just going to take a tiny sample. We're just going to burn off this thing. No, thank you. So the dermatologist gets ready for the injection, and I'm trying to be normal. I'm trying to act like a woman who can handle a routine appointment without turning it into a dinner conversation. The needle goes in. I'm out cold. Dermatology 1, Diane score 0. Then there was Hamilton's bloody nose. This one should win an award for dramatic irony because Hamilton was the one bleeding. Hamilton also looked like he might faint. So I went in there to help him and Sean to make sure that everything was okay. When I walked in, the sight of seeing him almost wanting to faint and telling me that he couldn't see, that he was seeing stars, brought me to my knees. So naturally, I just fainted for him. Because I am nothing if not generous. Some stepmothers comfort their child. Some stepmothers stay calm. Some stepmothers say, tilt your head forward, honey. I've got you. And apparently, looking at Hamilton, saw that he might go down. I thought, let me take care of this one for you. Boom. I'm down. So Sean walks into the room with smelling salts that I told him to go get for Hamilton and ends up giving me the smelling salts because now apparently Hamilton's fine and I'm the one down in my robe in Hamilton's bedroom. So you get the point in all this. I have a really broad resume of fainting and I can sometimes control it and sometimes I can't depending on the situation. But it's like any tiny emergency that happens, my body just pulls the fire alarm and everything becomes chaos. And fainting makes you very vulnerable. You're there living your life, pretending to be an adult, and suddenly your body makes an executive decision without consulting you. One minute you're upright, the next minute people are saying your name too loudly. Diane, Diane, can you hear me? Yes, unfortunately, and now I have to pretend that I'm not mortified because this is the part people don't talk about. Fainting is not just physical, it's embarrassing and scary, and it makes me feel like your body can't be trusted. It makes you feel dramatic even when you're not trying to be. And for me, this was always a little voice afterwards that said, really? Again? You couldn't handle that? And then life handed me breast cancer. Actual breast cancer, not an earring or a bagel or a shot or a nosebleed, but cancer. The thing that comes with appointments and scans and biopsies and waiting in bad rooms with worse results. Some things that come with this breast cancer that you really never thought about: the biopsies, the extra incisions, the radiation, and the tattoos that they put on your back as tiny markers. I was never planning to get a tattoo. I was never planning to get a tattoo for fear that I would faint. Let's be honest. Through all of that, I kept waiting for my body to do what it's always done. And I kept waiting for that familiar wave: the lightheadedness, the tunnel vision, the heat, the sound changing, the moment where everybody whispers, "Are you okay, Diane?" But it never happened, not once. Through all that breast cancer crap, I did not faint. Not even once. And I still think about that. Because how? Because how does a woman faint over starter earrings and then stay upright through a biopsy? And how does a woman collapse because of a bagel and then walk into radiation? I don't get it. I don't have a neat answer for that. The female body is miraculous, complicated, and dramatically inconsistent, if you ask me. My body says, I'll betray you in front of the children on Christmas Eve, and then I'll carry you through the scariest chapter of your life. It really makes no sense. And maybe that's the point. Maybe strength is not predictable. Maybe courage does not always show up where we expect. Because sometimes we collapse over the small things because our body knows the big things are coming. Or maybe our bodies are just weird little haunted houses with hormones and blood pressure issues. Both could be true. But what I know is this. Some moments you collapse, and some moments you rise. And I have done both. I have hit the floor over ridiculous things. I've needed help to get up. I've needed a glass of water. I've needed a chair to hold on to, or Hamilton. And I've needed someone to stop describing the wound in details because, sir, I'm already pale. Can't you see that? And I've also stood in rooms I never wanted to enter. I've sat through appointments that I never wanted to have. And I've let people place needles in my body because that was the next step that was required. And now I look at my body after surgery and think, well, this is new. The scar is new. And somehow I stayed. Not because I was fearless. Please. I'm the woman who fainted over earrings being taken out. But because sometimes life doesn't always ask whether you feel brave. Sometimes life just says, this is the room. Walk right in. And you do. Maybe shaking or sweating and maybe saying some inappropriate jokes as everybody's going to look at your boobs. Maybe needing a snack afterwards or some orange juice. But you walk in, and that counts. And that's the part that I want to remember. Not that I fainted, not that I looked ridiculous, but because I got back up every single time. And when the big thing came, the thing that I thought might actually take me down at each appointment, something deeper was happening within me that kept me standing. Strength is much stronger than we think. And it's not always grateful or calm or pretty. Sometimes it's lying on the bathroom floor hugging the rug while your husband gives the event a title. And sometimes you become known as the girl in third grade who fainted when we all got shots. And sometimes strength is not fading at all. And when everybody thought you would, including you, you didn't. And that's the miracle of it. And yes, sometimes I fold like a lawn chair. So what? But apparently, even lawn chairs can get back up. In some moments you collapse. In some moments you rise. And strength is not always about staying on your feet. Sometimes it's about getting up and still standing.